Music theory with Microsoft Excel. Modal distance, modal ranges, and intervals. This time adding another layer which is sure to make you a better player, that being the color system. So get ready and some coffee because you ain't never seen rockin' unless you excel at rockin', and you need Microsoft Excel. People will tell you otherwise, but those people, they don't know what we are in Excel. If you don't have access to this workbook, that's okay, because you could just follow along, possibly building the part of the worksheet that we're currently working on. If you do have access to this workbook, though, 4 tabs down below, including a very colorful fretboard tab, which we will refer to, the example tab, in essence, the answer key, the prior pres tab, having information from a prior presentation, which we will use to populate the current presentation, which will be worked in the blank tab, where we started with a blank worksheet, starting from scratch, but did so in a prior course or section. This time, we're going to be adding the element of color onto that worksheet. Let's go to the fretboard tab, giving a reminder of our objective with the color. That means to optimize the use of color to best understand music theory with that tool. Also using it to create tools such as a fretboard, helping us to navigate it. This being an example of a fretboard with the low or heavy E string, the one closest to the ceiling on top. We have the 7-note collection around the key of C, and we have 2 sides of the fretboard to give us an idea of the full dimension of the colors noting. We could, of course, make more simplified fretboards, looking at one thing at a time, but this gets us an idea of the full range here. So we have on the left-hand side of fret 5, the points, which could either be expressed with the notes and a color system tied to it, or it could be expressed by the nodal points, which we're giving the analogy of continents on the globe, 7 continents versus 5 oceans that don't have anything in them. And on the right-hand side, we're going to have then our distance term and a different color system, a different set of 12 notes for those distances, which are typically measured possibly by interval, which is the last part of the cell. But I'd also like to have a modal range or a modal distance term, which is the first part, noting that this system is going to be dependent upon which of the 7 notes we're looking from. Whose perspective are we looking from? If we're like a narrative, if you're talking like a novel, we're thinking about looking from whose point of view, whose POV of the 7 people in the collection of notes. So for example, if I change, so I'm currently looking from the Phrygian, if I change this to the Aeolian, now the Aeolian is the perfect first or 0 notes away, and all of these second positions are in alignment or from the perspective of Mr. Aeolian, the minor scale. All right, that's the tools that we're going to be putting together, and the better we know the color system, the better we can describe everything by color and associate the color to both distance as well as points. All right, let's go to the blank tab to do that. So what we have here is a worksheet that we put in a prior course or section where we didn't add the color dimension, which I think is useful to do because I want to build these things up on top of each other. Now we'll add the dimension of color. So we started out with just the notes in the musical alphabet 1 through 12, the letters that sharps and flats are going to be represented with the lowercase letters, and then we added them together. We selected the notes in the key of C to give us that general idea of the 1 through 7 system, and then we gave us these abbreviations for the nodes. This is basically the Nashville number system. And then we said, I want to now be looking at the intervals. So we added the distances of intervals, and I'm really looking at them going clockwise, which I'm calling the local distance, meaning any point on the fretboard, we could have a distance if we think about going around a track or a lap, a racetrack of 0 through 11, or in essence 12 distances if you account going nowhere. But we can also go counterclockwise. So I can think about going around the track the other way. And I want to keep those 2 directionalities in mind as we think about basically our modal ranges, which is going to be each of the particular points. In other words, I can describe the fretboard or any musical instrument by the beginning and end point that we're going to be going from. I'm not taking into account octaves in this case. We're going to take into account, maybe you can think of it as one octave as we go counterclockwise. But we're going to be going one octave up clockwise, which is the normal distance, and then backwards or counterclockwise, and those are going to be the distances. So then we've made a similar table like this in a prior presentation, basically laying out all the ranges. What we're going to add this time is the scale. Let's look at the bottom bit first. The scale intervals and the modal distances. So these are going to be like the new things. So in a prior presentation, we said, hey, look, if we have a map of the fretboard, I don't care which collection of 12 notes, which of the 12 collections of 7 notes we're looking at, they're all relatively the same, like the planet spinning around. All the planets are relative, all the continents are relatively in the same position compared to each other. Therefore, I can list all of the distances from each of the locations. And if I want to do that and map out the territory, I want to know the distance from each location to each other location. And then I can show that distance in the ways we typically provide, which are going to be modal half steps and note half steps, or now scale interval terminology or modal distance terminology, which is basically combining those measuring components, meaning modal half steps, note half steps, and the scale degree. Okay, so that's what we're going to add. So in other words, we could go Ionian to Ionian, Ionian Dorian, Ionian Phrygian, Ionian Lydian, Ionian Mixolydian, Ionian Aeolian, Ionian Locrian. If I go from the Dorian, what are the distances I could go from the Dorian? Dorian, Dorian, Dorian Phrygian, Dorian Lydian, Dorian Mixolydian, Dorian Aeolian, Dorian Locrian, Dorian Ionian. Now, normally, when you say distance, like if I wanted to say, how do I get to this restaurant or something, you're going to have to turn right here, turn left there, and whatnot. But with our system here, it's all going around a lap, going like around the block in a circle. So all I need to know really is distance, which I assume goes clockwise, or I could say I'm going to go counterclockwise. So each of these ranges then could be defined in a clockwise distance or a counterclockwise distance. And then, of course, I could do the same thing from the Phrygian. If I'm on the Phrygian, where could I go from there to each of the continents? I'm not going to think about the oceans yet. We'll do that later. It could be a Phrygian, Phrygian Lydian, Phrygian Mixolydian, Phrygian Aeolian, Phrygian Locrian, Phrygian Ionian, Phrygian Dorian. Starting on the Lydian, I can go Lydian, Mixolydian, Lydian Aeolian, Lydian Locrian, Lydian Ionian, Lydian Dorian, Lydian Phrygian. If I start on the Mixolydian, mix to mix Aeolian, to mix Locrian, to mix Ion, to mix Dor, to mix Phryg, to mix Lyd. I'm trying to abbreviate now. Aeolian. So we go from Ao to Ao, from Ao to Loc, from Ao to Io, from Ao to Dor, from Ao to Phryg, from Ao to Lyd, from Ao to Mix. And then from the Locrian, we can go Loc to Loc, Loc to Ike, Loc to Dor, Loc to Phryg, Loc to Lyd, Loc to Mix, Loc to Ao. And then that's going to be it. Now, once we have all those, I could use this as a tool to map out the notes. So in other words, if I count everything from the key of C, I can basically list out the notes that are in the Ionian. So these are going to be all the notes for the C Ionian. And then if I go to the Dorian, I can look, this is for the C Dorian, not the D Dorian, not the relative to the C Dorian, but the C Dorian. So I'm deriving these notes basically from the distances we have up top. All right, so now let's just color code this whole thing, because this whole thing could be color coded because it's either points or it's distance. So we're going to make it crazy colored. So let's go to the prior pres tab and borrow our color system. So I want these three in my worksheet over here as well. So I'm going to go back to the blank and I want to say, okay, I'm going to insert here 1, 2, 3, and then right click and insert, and then go back on over and say, I'm going to grab those, boom, 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 Control copy or Control C, and then Control V or paste. And then I'm going to add that to the end here. We've done this before, so I'm doing it quickly because we've seen it. This is our standard routine for adding the color palette onto our system. And then I'm going to make this standard blue. It's in the more colors. Here's the color wheel. It's in the standard. It's in that blue. That's like my normal kind of fill in the background blue. Copy that. Gonna paste it down to the end of the first collection of the first row of notes in the musical alphabet. Paste it. And then these ones below, I'm just gonna make them green to start out with, which is gonna just show the two different octaves that we're going through. So list of notes, one octave, list of notes in the other octave. Now here's gonna be our color system for the points versus the color system that we will have for the ranges. So we'll apply that shortly. Let's go back over here, however. I wanna add this bit. Do I have that over here? I have that over here. So I've got this and this. Okay, that's cool. And then maybe I'll just copy this whole thing right here and redo it because it's not exactly the same. So I'm going to add a couple cells just to make sure I don't delete anything. Put my cursor on M and go over here. Well, wait a sec. I don't want to mess anything up. Let's not get crazy. Let's not get crazy. Let's do this one thing at a time. So I've got the C. All right, the letters are backwards, but then I have the 1, 2, 3, okay, and then I want to put this in there. So I'm just going to insert right here, L, right click and insert, go back on over and pick this bit up. I want that bit, copy, and put that right there, boom. All right, now that looks good. Now I also have modal whole steps, so I'm going to kind of cheat and pull this from my other worksheet. We did this modal whole steps in a prior presentation, but I didn't need it for this one. So if you look at the presentation we did before this one, you can pull the modal whole step worksheet, which I didn't include in this one. So I'm going to say 1, 2, let's go here. I'm going to go over 1, 2, 3. Let's go to here and that'll work. I'm going to say, let's right click and insert. And I'm going to make this larger. All right. And then I'm going to copy this bit. I'm copying it from a worksheet you can't see, but we did it in a prior presentation. So these are the modal whole steps. So these would be the color coding system I'm going to have if I take various steps from one node to the next node, like Phrygian to Lydian is going to be one modal whole step, one shade of gray up. Okay. And then over here, I want this distance, these distances, this color system, which I don't have over here at all thus far. I kind of have, I'm only going to really be working with this time, going from distances of 1 to 11 and then distances back to -11. So I'd like to pull information just for that from our table. So let's do this a little bit more carefully. Let's pull the skinny. I'm gonna grab this skinny, format paint it, and put the skinny here. And then I'm gonna delete this bit, delete. All right, oh wait, that's not delete, that's adding. You did the opposite. Okay, so then I'm gonna add a column here, right click and insert a column because that's where I want this bit, the local distance. I'm just gonna copy the header, local distance. But then I want to start at -11. So I just want -11, the equivalent of the local distance from here down to here. That's it. Copy that and paste it there. Boom. All right. Now the intervals are the new thing. That's great. What I need is the hex. I need the hex color and the names. So I need 2 more columns in between here. I'm going to go from here to here. Right click and insert 2 more columns, go back on over, and I want to grab, but I'm going to grab the header, hex, and the color code system. Let's grab the header and just put those bam there. And then I want to grab, again, just from the related 11, but over here, down to forward 11. There's our color system. Hermosa. It's hermosa. I've been practicing my Spanish again. YouTube has a Spanish thing. You can listen to a lot of channels in Spanish, but it's not as good because it doesn't follow the subtitles that they make in Spanish. Why wouldn't they just read the Spanish subtitles? Anyway, whatever. Then if I go back down here again. So now what we're going to do is I want to apply out to here. Okay, let's do this one by one. So now I've got, this is scale degrees. Now I keep on getting mixed up because I'm starting up top. I'd rather start from here down. That's clockwise distance. That'll be easier to think about than going to the top bit. So we have scale degrees. I don't have a color system for scale degrees because that's the one that's a weird measuring tool. It's off by 1 from the modal distance. The real measuring tool would be modal distances, meaning each of the scale degrees are really kind of off by 1 if you were to measure from each of the points from a modal distance standpoint. So I'm going to use modal distance here. I'm going to grab, now this is format painted already, meaning if I go down here, I've got the rules, so I can just grab one and format paint it because I already have my 6 shades of gray for this one. So I'm going to grab this. Every time I think of gray, I think about a soap opera now, or like a woman's not. I don't know why it's like you can't say shades of gray without anyway. So then I need these points. I need these points, which are going to be, that's not going to be a distance. Those are going to be these items. Okay, now I need to better color code this. So this, now that I have this, I can go back on over here and just color code this whole thing. So I'm just going to grab it from here to here, and I'm just going to format paint this whole thing. And hopefully, if everything's lined up, I should just be able to grab that and then format paint right there. Boom. And everything gets format painted. All right, similarly, if I go back on over, I think these are all lined up. So I'm just going to grab these and go format paint and bring that over here. Boom. Format painted. Okay. So from these color system, we're going to say red, if I had the points, it would be red, a red A, and then an orange for A sharp or B flat, and then it would be yellow for B, and then yellow-green for C, but we're going to make C the collection of notes that we base our system off of. So that's going to also be the permanent system for the Ionian node if we apply a permanent system to all 12 collections of 7 notes. In other words, if I was playing in A major or Ionian, I could make it red by color of note, but I can also make it yellow-green, label it the Ionian mode, which is kind of functionally better oftentimes. So we can continue that process down. We're left with then these are the notes in the key of C. More importantly, this is our Nashville number system, our permanent numbers. This is our abbreviated node system, and this is our abbreviation for the nodes by letter. Okay, so I think these are these ones down here are format painted so that if I go here and I go look at the rules, I've put rules. So if you see this letter, give me that one. So that makes it easy that I can just grab that and say paintbrushy it, and then I want that to go on all of these ones. Bam. So now it's color coded. I'm going from the yellow green to the spring green. I'm going from yellow green to sky blue, yellow green to blue, yellow green to magenta, yellow green to red, yellow green to yellow. So let's grab that. So I can grab that all the way across. That gives me my modal ranges by color. So Dorian, spring green to sky blue to magenta to red to yellow green. Grabbing this on over, modal ranges for the Phrygian. would be sky blue, you mean, from a color system. We'd be going sky blue to magenta to red to yellow green to spring green. What if I'm going from Lydian? It's not Lydian, it's just blue, baby. Blue to magenta, blue to red, blue to yellow green, blue to spring green, blue to sky blue. And then what if I'm starting from Mixolydian? It's not Mixolydian, it's magenta. And we'd go magenta red, magenta yellow, magenta green, yellow green, magenta sky, spring green, magenta sky blue, and magenta blue. And then bring that on over here. Aeolian is red. Similarly, red yellow green, red spring green, red sky blue, red magenta, and Locrian is yellow. So it'd be yellow green, yellow to spring green, yellow sky blue, yellow magenta, yellow red. Copying the same thing down below, because these were actually I keep on doing the backwards ones first. If I copy that down here, this is the clockwise distances. Again, I'm saying the ranges are the same. I could go clockwise or counterclockwise, but typically we would assume we're going clockwise, not counterclockwise. And I can copy this across in a similar fashion. I won't repeat the whole thing again because I don't want to bore you. Although repetition is a useful tool. That's how I get it done. But we'll make it colorful without being too repetitive. Okay, so now we want now these are the start and end. This is the same range, but by number instead of by color. So I want this same color system over here. Now you would think you could just copy this color system, but I can't because it's got conditional formatting. But I do have a conditional formatting over here again for those numbers, I think. So I think, didn't I do that? So now wait a sec, I don't. Are these conditionally formatted? Hold on now. Hold on now. We've got the start and the end. I don't think these are conditionally formatted. So let's go ahead and let's do a quick conditional formatting. Do I have these over here? Oh yeah, I do have them. I'm going to copy them over here. I did this before. I'm going to copy these, put these over here. These are conditionally formatted. So then I'm going to grab that one and just paste that bad doggy over these. So again, it's an Ionian to Ionian, which is a 1 1 1 2 1 3 1 4 1 5 1 6 and 1 7 modal range. But again, I could just color code it, same color pattern, because it's just another way to say the same thing by number as opposed to by letter as opposed to by color. All three ways. It's like 3 different languages, just like tres distinctus idiomas. All right, which is tough to, obviously it's tough to speak 3 different languages, but if you could, then you would know it better, I feel like. That's my theory. That's my theory. And so let's copy this one up top and copy this one up top. So we'll just bring this one all the way around and over here and same color pattern. I know it's looking crazy, but if you keep your mind on the meaning and don't let it drive you crazy. Don't let it drive you crazy. Okay. So now we've got modal half steps. Modal half steps. So this is going to be this is the same as our distance, right? These numbers are the same as this one over here. It's just that we're listing it out. So modal half steps are going to be shades of gray. It's going to be our shades of gray for the modal half steps. So I can just grab these and say that's going to be our shades of gray. It's just now it's the same number of modal half steps, but now from the Dorian, because we're looking at everything from the Dorian, and we're always going to be comparing one modal half step up, then two modal half steps up, then three modal, 4, 5, and 6 from the perspective of whatever node that we are on. Those distances will be different from the perspective of note half steps, as we'll see when we color the notes, but the modal half steps will remain the same in the pattern. Modal half steps from the Lydian, 6 shades of gray. Modal half steps from the Mixolydian, 6 shades of gray. Modal half steps from here, 6 shades of gray. And, all right, from here, 6 shades of gray. All right, and then we can go in the reverse direction, negative modal half steps, which are going to be counterclockwise direction. So we can go those many 6 steps backwards, in essence. Counterclockwise, 6 shades of gray. So notice 1 step backwards has the same as 6 clockwise shades of gray. Okay? Because we go in clockwise and counterclockwise, so we have one color, in our case, going both directions for that one. So this is going to be shades of gray, negative 6 shades of gray, negative 6 shades of gray, and then negative 6 shades of gray, and then negative 6 shades of gray, and then negative 6 shades of gray. Okay. And then note-wise, so then we have the distance from notes perspective. How many notes away is it? That's going to be this one. So that's going to be our distance here, which was our separate color system. So we've got this color system for no distance, 1, 2, 3. This is going to be our color system there. All right. So now the problem is that I don't have a conditional formatting for the notes, and it would be a lot easier if I did. So I'd like it. So what I want now is a conditional formatting for the note distance, which I could apply to here possibly, and here, and here. Because notice that these 3 terms are all based on the same distance, meaning the first of each of these is the actual note distance. And then it gives you a stupid M or a P, which is kind of useless for normal scale degrees. And then, or it gives you a more useful, like where are you measuring from, like the Ionian or Dorian. And then the final number is the off by 1 scale degree in normal intervals, or the more properly measured modal distance. So it gives you 2 measuring tools, and then where you're from, or a useless, thing in the middle. So, but the point is, it has that beginning number that's all the same. So is there a way I could do a conditional formatting that would do all of that at one time? So I think there is. Okay, here's what we're going to do. This is what we're going to do. I'm going to use this formula with the conditional formatting, which is basically saying, I want you to measure from the left so that we can just pull the number. So it contains the thing on the left, and then it could have, I'm going to start it with 1 digit. I have to change the number of digits, and then it's going to be, we'll start it going up from 0. So I want you to find this 0 on the left. And if you see a 0 on the left, then make it that color. That's what we're going to do. So I'll show you what I mean. So if I take this whole thing, so I have to go conditional formatting, but I can't just do like the normal if it contains. I'm going crazy with new rule, like a Bill Maher thing, new rule, formula. There's the formula. And then I'm going to say format paint that thing. And I've got these two in Word, so that, see, if I was over here, I can't go to my Excel. So I copied and pasted the table to Word, because then I can go to Word and then copy this bit while I'm still in the conditional formatting, which I can't do even if I had another Excel workbook open. So then I can go in here and I can say, okay, I want you to give me more colors and do that. Bam. Let's see if it does it. So we're going to say, make it that color. Did it do it? Bam. So now it picked that one up. That looks right. It didn't color anything else. So that looks good. I'm going to copy this formula down, and then I'm just going to change the bit on the formula I need to change, which is a 1. So I'm going to say, hey, Excel, conditional formatting, if you see a 1 on the left, and the reason this V6 is there, by the way, is because it starts in V6. It's kind of labeling the start of the range that we're looking at. So I'm going to say find that. So we'll say conditional formatting, and I'm going to say new rule, and boom, and then there's the rule, and then I'm going to copy the color code for amber. Oh, wait a sec. Color code for amber is going to be here. Bam. More colors. Bam. And there it is. And okay, okay, okay. So that looks like it did it. It did it down here too, but that's okay, because once I do a rule on top of it, then that rule will apply first before this one. And so as long as I do it in order going this way first, we should be okay. So let me check that out. I'm going to copy and paste and then just change this last bit to a 2. And this is going to be tedious, yes, but it won't be too bad because we have the system down. New rule, we're going to say do that. And then we need to have the 2 color code, which is going to be boom, bam, custom, and that's the one, okay, and that's chartreuse. So now that one's chartreuse. Let's copy this down again, make this last bit a 3. So if you go 3 half steps up, then we're going to say we want new rule, and this one, paste it. Then the color needs to be the 3 color, which is lime, I think. And then boom, 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 paste, bam, 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 and that one's lime. Copy and paste, we need to go up 4 now. So we're going 4. There's going to be 12 one way and then 12 or 11 the other way. So yes, this will take a little bit of time here. And no, the system is not optimized in Excel to be as efficient as they could do it. They could work on this and make it a little bit more cohesive, a little bit easier, but we will work with what we're given and like it. It's still pretty cool, but it could be better. I'm just saying it seems like it could be designed a little better, but that's okay. That's okay. I'm gonna we'll paste this here. All right, so then that's 5 up. We'll copy, paste, boom, make this a 6. And if we go 6 up, conditional formatting, new rule, and formula, bam, and then we need the color code for 6 up, and paste that, boom, 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 okay. And so there's 6 up, and then we're gonna go 7 up, 7, copy that, and then boom, boom, what, new rule, formula for 7 up, give us the color we need. Give me the color. All right. There's the color. Azure. Azure blue is what we called it. 8 up. If we go 8 up, it needs to be grape. Hitting the drop down. New rule. New rule. I'm making the rules. Nobody follows your rules, man. I know, but they should, because I have good rules. People don't know how to make, the people making the rules, they don't know what they're doing. This is grape. All right, what about if we go 9 up? 9 up. I need to make the rules. New rule. I will make the rules. Why? Because I know how rules should work. And clearly, I'm the only one, as far as I can tell, that knows how the rules should go. We're going to copy and paste this. And then that's going to be orchid. And then if we go 10. Now, if I go 10 up, it's 2 digits. So I have to change this last bit. I want you to find the one on the left, but it's 2 digits out, and then make this a 10. So we have to make that change, or it won't work. And we want it to work. So we're going to say, that's fine, as long as we make that adjustment, as long as we see that, then we can continue forward, and everything will function as planned, according to plan. That's fuchsia. The plan is not too complicated. Your plan is too complicated. It is not too complicated. It's really easy. You just change that one thing, and then, no, we're done. This is too complicated. We cannot execute. It's going to cause confusion in the lines. All right. So that's going to be a punch color. All right, let's go back the other way. So now I'm going to go back the other way and say it needs to be a -1. So the negative counts as a character. So once again, it's going to be a 2 because the negative is a character. So so we need the 2 there. Let's go back the other way and say we're going to say this has got to be new rule. Formulae, boom, and now we're going backwards to a -1. -1 distance, boom, boom, bam, boom, boom, boom. And so it's still messed up here, but that's okay because it's going to have the same ordering issue. So we should be good and didn't mess anything up down here. It's still punch, but it's going to be an octave lower. That's why it's darker in shade. All right, let's make this a -2. -2. We'll go boom. New rule. Ding, ding, right here. This is going to be going up this way for the color that we need. Look at this, Excel. Is this the fastest? Is this the optimal way to do this? I mean, it's the optimal way. That's amber. That's fuchsia. You need to do better. Do better. All right. I'm going to say, for crying out loud, this is not, it just drives me crazy that this is the way it works. All these functionalities don't work in the conditional formatting too. It's like, what is wrong with you? Google's going to eat your lunch if you don't get on the ball. That's going to be orchid, -3, back, and then -4. And then we're going to say new rule on the -4. Boom. -4. And more colors. Boom. Okay. 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 That's grape. And then we'll go -5. They ate my lunch. -5. Dang it. I'm going to say, okay, -5. And then we have that one. And then we'll go back again. -6. -6 is the tritone. That's crazy electric sky. You get electrocuted with that one, whether you're going clockwise or counterclockwise. It's dangerous. It's dangerous. But that's okay. That's right, Iceman. I am dangerous. Okay, no one knows any of these movies. For crying out loud. You have to have video game lines. People only know video game lines these days. Okay? I don't know video games. I don't know. Alright. That's gonna be... Oh, that's the wrong color. That's the wrong color. I went the wrong way. This should be up here. I went down instead of up, so that's okay. I did that on purpose to just show that we can manage the rule. Last one was on top, so we just manage that. That's how you do it. That's why I did that. And then we'll fix it like that. And then boom, mint. Okay? And then we copy that. No big deal. No big deal. There might be a deal happen. There might be some deal, but it's not a big deal. If there is a deal, I'm not even sure there's a deal at all here. But if there is a deal, it's a relatively small deal. So we don't have to get all stressed out or anything. Let's go ahead and then put this here. Boom, boom, boom. And then almost there. 9 back. We are going to have to change that 2 to a 3 when we get to 10 back, mind you, just as a precursor, a prelude to what is to come here. That being changing that number, which is going to be an exciting twist in the story of Excel that we're putting together. And I just want to do a bit of foreshadowing. So we know what's going to happen. So once this goes up to 10, that's going to be 3 characters. That means this needs to be a 3. Boom. See, that's what, man, that's crazy. See how he worked that in and like worked it into the story. So it was so we kind of like knew it was going to happen, but didn't totally know how it was going to happen. That's amazing. It's called foreshadowing. All right, finally we have 11. 11 and new rule, last rule, and then we get to see if this actually worked, which I hope it does, because this was a lot of effort has gone into this, so it better, that's okay. Even if it doesn't, I don't care, because it was, so it's worth our time. Okay, so now if I have all of that, now the question is, could I pull that and put it on the note distance? So I'm going to format paint this bad doggy on the note distance, and it works. What if I pull it on this one? Will it work on this one? So boom, scale intervals. It works. Oh my goodness. What if I did it on the modal distance? It should give me the same colors. Oh my goodness. One set of rules works on all 3 of them. That's going to be great for our fretboard. Formulas, man. So I is 0 note away perfect first, or a 0 note away from the Ionian 0th modal half step. And then Ionian to Dorian is 2 note half steps, so it'd be a 2 note away major second, or 2 note away from the Ionian 1 modal half step. I won't go into that in detail right now because we've got to copy this across. We're running long on time, and so we don't have time for explanations that are overly explanatory. We'll do that maybe at a later time. Right now we're working on just getting the color out there, and I'm just really impressed with the conditional formatting. Although I still don't think Excel has the perfect system on conditional formatting. I still feel like this bit is pretty cool that you can do that, and then it applies to that left rule. All right, so there we have the negative directions. All right, and so they're a shade darker. So if I go back 2, I get to a -2, which is the same color as going forward. here on the magenta. Okay, I won't get into that in detail now. Let's just keep it rolling. Keep it rolling. Rolling, rolling, rolling. The doggies. Keep those doggies rolling. Rawhide! Rolling, rolling, rolling. Keep those doggies rolling. Rolling, rolling, rolling. Rawhide! It's a classic song. All right. Rawhide is the name of it, in case you're wondering. Pretty sure, at least. Okay. So then down here, I can copy this same thing. For the modal distance is the same. Let's copy the modal distance, shades of gray, 6 shades of gray. And now we're just going to use this as our key to populate the collection of notes. So I can do any of the 12 collections of notes based on these intervals up top, the distances, these distances. We can just change this and toggle it the way we set this up before. So if I went to 6, then now I have the collection of notes for the D Ionian. And this over here is not the related to D Dorian. I mean, not the related to the D Ionian, but is the D Dorian. So it's a different collection of 7 notes that's pivoting around the same point of the D. Similarly here, Phrygian and so on and so forth. So I'd like to color code this whole thing. All right. So what I can do, let's bring it back to 4, which is a C. And I could say, well, I could do the note formatting, which I did up here. Okay, one more problem is that this note formatting is not conditionally formatted. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through this bit and I'm going to conditional format again. It's like, are you kidding? Yeah, one more time. We need conditional formatting on these 12 notes so I can copy and paste them and the colors will change automatically. So I'm going to just make this green. But I deleted the, no, I didn't delete them. They're right here. Okay. Okay. This is going to be, there's only 12 of them. It's not a big deal. Dude, are you kidding? No, look, there's only a few of them. So I'm going to try to hard code them in there this time. Now, wait a sec. What I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this. Let's grab this whole bit and then paste that in here somewhere. Okay. Paste it. I'm just going to paste it like, oh, that looks kind of cool, but I can't copy it that way. But see, the colors don't work that way. Let's just paste it like this. All right. So the first one's going to be red. So I'm going to select this series from here to here, and I'm just going to go conditional formatting. Let's just say if it contains, this time I'm going to do the easier one. If it contains, I'm going to type it in there, A1, so I don't get absolute references. And then I can see it's highlighted, adding the color, then make it that color red. That's the red we want, specific color coding here. And then this one's going to say conditional formatting. If the text contains an AB2, that's the red one. I can see it's picked. So I'm going to say then I want to change the color to make it that color, which is orange red. Let's call it orange. And then if it's a 3, I'm going to make it yellow. So we have to say drop it down, and we're going to say if it contains, where did it go? Text contains a B3. By the way, that I don't need a capital because it doesn't recognize capitals, which it should recognize capitals. Another defect, Excel. Not that I'm complaining or anything, but that's lame. That sounds like a complaint. I know it does, but I'm not complaining or anything. I'm just saying. It's not a complaint. I'm just saying it's lame. C4 is going to be, why wouldn't you be able to recognize a capital? That's what I'm saying. I mean, how hard could it be to be able to recognize a capital? Because it would be helpful, you know, not complaining or anything, but it would be helpful, and you're not helpful by not recognizing it. You're not being helpful as you could be. Not that I'm complaining or anything. I'm just saying. I'm going to say this one's going to be a D. Hit the drop down. Contains a D6. And we're going to say boom on that one. And then this one's going to be a DE. So this is going to be a DE7. So if you have a DE7, drop it down. Then make it that color. Boom. That's going to be cayenne. And then if it's an E8, if it contains an E8, then make it that color. Bam, bam, which is sky blue. Sky blue. And then if it contains an F9, then make it that color, which is going to be simply blue. Blue, baby. And then conditional formatting, if it contains FG10, then custom format it to the color of that. Okay, 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 violet. And then conditional formatting, if it contains G11, then customize and make it that. Okay, okay, and it's magenta. One more time, one more time. Don't do the voice thing. Don't do one more time. And then if it's a GA12, which now it's overwritten that one, so it's cool now. And then custom formatting, more colors, that color, okay, okay. And then that's the rose color. Okay, so now I should be able to pull this conditional formatting and just plop it down even as the notes change. Boom. That's lime, yellow, green, yellow, green. And then over here, we get the colors applied. Let's just copy that across. It changes automatically because the formatting is conditional based on what it sees there. So I think it's doing it properly. It's doing it properly, I feel like. So let's just copy it across until it's done to the Locrian. Okay, so then I'll copy this on the top bit. If we go in the counterclockwise direction, counterclockwise direction, counterclockwise direction, counterclockwise direction. Okay, and then counterclockwise, counterclockwise, and then okay, and then one more round. Let's grab this one. Okay, come on. Don't be crazy now. He doesn't want to go to crazy Locrian because he's crazy. All right, then let's just copy this formatting, which is just normal formatting. It's not conditional. And I'll just paste this right here. So that's the green. This green is based on the Ionian color, which is based on the key of C, as opposed to the letter colors, which everything else is based on. So I'm going to say the Dorian will be the spring green. Let's just make this whole bit spring green. And then we're going to say that the Phrygian is going to be sky blue. Phrygian, sky blue. And then we're going to say that the Lydian is going to be normal blue for the lid. And then we're going to say mixolid is going to be magent, magent. And then we're going to say that the AO is going to be red, AO red. And then we're going to say that the loc dog is going to be yellow. Okay, now all these colors change automatically when I change the collection of notes. Boom. See, they all change automatically. The coolness is super. There's a lot of coolness here. It's super. The coolness is super sized. All right. So I think that's it.